Alrighty, so we're going to get going right away today. hmm what else is there to say? Um, this is the my weekly read-along, or I try to do weekly, where I read articles from liberationnews.org. Uh, this is it's a leftist uh, article site. So in the description, if you follow the description, you can follow the link to it. You can follow a link to donate to it, to read along to it. Feel free to comment if you have any questions or want to make your own analysis. As usual, I just read through the articles, give my own quick analysis at the end. The article itself has an analysis at the end, so I just kind of add on to it or reiterate it. All right, so it's close enough to noon already, about 2 minutes. So we're going to get going on reading these articles. Let me check audio real quick. 1, 2, 3, audio is good. All right. First article for today is titled 2024 Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Concludes with Plan for Shared Path of Modernization for a Global South by Deja Gaston, September 9th, 2024. The photo description is leaders of Tanzania, Zambia, and China witnessed the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding to revitalize the Tazara Railway at FOCAC Credit X. All right. Yep, the picture has a few politicians in the foreground and the background. The article reads as follows. The ninth summit of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, drew to a close in Beijing, leaving China and 53 out of the 54 African countries with an action plan to, quote, jointly drive modernization that is just and equitable, open, and win-win, end quote. This historic record of deals upgrading bilateral cooperation will continue to increase the production capacity of African countries in areas of industry, agriculture, infrastructure, trade, and investment, striving to build a model that is exemplary of the Global Development Initiative. The GDI was proposed at the general debate of the 76th UN General Assembly in 2021. It calls for development as a priority, a people-centered approach, harmony between man and nature, benefits for all, innovation-driven development, and results-oriented action. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres joined as a special guest alongside heads of several other international organizations, including the African Union, as summit observers. I think it's called FOCAC or FOCAC Summit was first formed in 2000 as a platform of collective consultation and dialogue to develop cooperation between China and Africa in areas such as economic and trade relations, as stated by President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa. It is the principal instrument for China-Africa relations. Significant step towards African prosperity and development. On Thursday, September 5th, a comprehensive action plan of the FOCAC and declaration were adopted qualitatively, raising the characterization of China-Africa relations to that of an, quote, all-weather China-Africa community with a shared future for a new era, end quote. To be implemented in 3 years, the action plan covers 10 partnership initiatives which concretely address all aspects of modernization in Africa through mutual learning among civilizations, trade prosperity, industrial chain cooperation, connectivity, development cooperation, healthcare, rural revitalization, and people's well-being, people-to-people exchanges, green development, and common security. In order for these initiatives to be successful, China will provide Africa with RMB 360 billion yuan, which in parentheses equates to $50.69 billion over the next 3 years. It is worth noting that in 2023, lending from China to Africa was at its highest annual increase since the start of the pandemic, providing $4.61 billion. Additionally, China will grant duty-free treatment to 100% of the tariff lines of products from the least developed countries with which it has ties. This is meant to allow the least developed African nations to export goods to China and develop a larger opportunity to generate profit and compete with other products in China's market at a lower cost to them. Per the action plan, this will be a result of China voluntarily and unilaterally widening its market, providing a big opportunity for Africa. It is a shared consensus across governments in Africa that industrialization is the essence of development. And this widening in trade and investment is representative of a form of capitalist development, but must be understood in terms of how it increases the productive forces within different economic sectors of African nations and provides the working class in Africa with direct employment opportunities for millions. It is also necessary to contrast this with the West's neoliberal structural adjustment programs, debt and exploitation that has completely ravaged African nations. Among the several notable initiatives are the plans to implement 30 infrastructure projects in Africa, build a multi-modal sea rail transport network connecting China's central and western regions to Africa, launch 30 clean energy projects, and provide 60,000 training opportunities in programs primarily focused on empowering women and youth development, bringing a high-quality Belt and Road cooperation. China and Africa at its best period in history. Africa serves as the largest source of raw materials for Europe and North America, yet the continent is reduced to marginal standards in the global economy. As a result of colonial and imperialist intervention by Western countries, the ability for Africa to raise its industrial capacity to a high caliber in the global economy has been a challenge. In this context, the division of labor and collaboration in the industrial sector is incomplete. In Xi Jinping's keynote speech, he stated, quote, "Modernization is an inalienable right of all countries, but the Western approach to it has inflicted immense sufferings on developing countries. Since the end of the World War II, third world nations represented by China and African countries have achieved independence and development one after another, and have been endeavoring to redress the historical injustice of the modernization process." End quote. Relationships between China and Africa have been rooted in fostering the right of African nations' self-determination, sovereignty, and ability to prosper in a different kind of global economic order based on mutually beneficial cooperation. As many African nations in the 20th century were gaining independence through national liberation struggles, China, among several growing independent countries at the time, sought strategic cooperation based on the same principles of the newly independent nations of Asia and Africa. One striking example can be examined in the 1968 Tanzania-Zambia Railway Tazara project, which was completed in 1975. The Tazara Railway project was built as a symbol of Pan-African socialism and resistance to colonialism, exporting copper and cobalt without relying on colonial Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, and apartheid South Africa. China lent an interest-free $400 million towards the project at the time. In February of this year, China proposed to spend $1 billion to rehabilitate the rail line through a public-private partnership model. On September 4th, Tanzania, Zambia, and China signed a memorandum of understanding to revitalize the railway as part of improving rail sea transportation. Africa can concretely develop through the FOCAC's continued emphasis on industrial capacity cooperation and industrialization of the continent. This is realized through three main aspects. One, the construction of industrial parks. Two, the synergy of infrastructure construction and industrial investment. And three, a focus on the production that is suitable for local markets, synergizing with local development and generating sustained momentum for industrialization. Meeting the local conditions of African nations, excuse me. Three, a focus on production that is suitable for local markets, synergizing with local development and generating sustained momentum of industrialization, meeting the local conditions of African nations. To restate, the projects developed within these core FOSSI connect the African nations' industrial chain from operations to logistics, raising industrialization to a larger scale while training tens of thousands of Africans to gain critical skills for maintaining the industrial capacity within their own countries. The era of friendship. The West continues to impose its imperialist, quote, rules-based order, end quote, onto the rest of the world through pouring billions into the proxy war in Ukraine, funding the genocide in Gaza, intervening in the sovereign and democratic elections of socialist countries, and pushing sanctions onto the global south. Meanwhile, countries within Africa are undergoing revolutionary changes from the overthrow of neo-colonial regimes to the popular movements against poor governance of current Western puppets. Tides are shifting eastward, and the rise in multipolarity must continue pushing towards the goals of national sovereignty, dignity, and self-determination. This is maintained by revolutionary socialist principles that highlight what international solidarity looks like between countries of the global south. Since 2013, Xi has put forward the principles of China's Africa policy: sincerity, real results, amity, and good faith. FOCAC is a clear demonstration of these principles in practice, as the next decade is laid out as a result of the agreed upon declaration from the 2024 summit. We can continue to see the reality of China-Africa relations as characterized from Xi's concluding point of the keynote speech for the summit. Quote, as an African proverb goes, a friend is someone you share the path with. One on the path to excuse me, I butchered that already. Let me try to get it right. Uh, quote, as an African proverb goes, a friend is someone you share the path with. On the path to modernization, no one and no country should be left behind. Let us rally the more than 2.8 billion Chinese and African people into a powerful force on our shared path towards modernization. Promote modernization of the global south with China-Africa modernization, and write a new magnificent chapter of development in human history. Let us join hands to bring about a bright future of peace, security, prosperity, and progress for our world. End quote. Hashtag Africa. Yeah, so this is all part of BRICS, the Belt and Road Initiative, uh, part of actually spreading multipolarity so that we don't have a hegemon, so that we don't have the imperialist West uh, brutally, uh, brutally stealing resources from developing nations for its own personal benefit. I totally support this. It's not what we call pure socialism or communism, but it's bridging uh, and working alongside while giving other nations their own sovereignty, letting them decide how they want to use their resources, uh, and not letting just the oligarchs control the resources through their so-called laws or rule-based order, right? So it is very important uh, to note the differences between China's economy and the United States economy. United States economy based on pillaging their neighbors around the world, and the Chinese economy, which is based on bridging and creating a greater market, uh, which has been a long-term plan. China currently is on its way to being the largest economy in the world. I don't think at this point there's anything that's going to stop that other than a world war if the U.S. decides to antagonize and declare a war on other nations, like it's trying to do with Russia at the moment. As a result, uh, everything in the United States has been commodified. A war is profitable, so it incentivizes more ghouls to be war hawks, so it incentivizes more war, uh, more excuses created for war or proxy wars, such as in Gaza or in Ukraine. Um, Healthcare has been commodified, which incentivizes reactionary measures or reactionary treatment instead of preventive treatment, uh, so that the so that the oligarchs, the imperialists, the industries can keep making money out of people's sickness. Uh, and there's other things like college, school, all of it is commodified in some way so that some people can get rich at the expense or the detriment of others. And it's not right, it's not humane. In a time of abundance of resources and technology, this should not be the way. Uh, I look forward more to nations and countries like Venezuela rising up uh, and exercising their full sovereignty to run their country as seen fit, uh, in the in the form that the over almost 1,000 U.S. and European sanctions will no longer be a burden to them because they will be able to go to other nations around the world to sell their products, such as China, Africa, and Russia. So I look forward to this. Unfortunately, this is the route the U.S. has taken, a violent capitalist route. And eventually the chickens are going to come home to roost, and we are going to be left behind if we do not change our trajectory or our course to join the rest of the world in a multipolarity uh, form that is productive of a world economy market, uh, and one that is actually eco-friendly and sustainable. Okay, so these are my thoughts on this article, solid article. All right, and here's another article that shows you how the U.S. just can't stop uh, putting three raccoons in a trench coat, you know, uh, wolf in sheep's clothing. Um, Let me check our audio again. Audio check 1 2 1 2. All good. Try to clear my throat a little. Me 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 me. All right. I actually like doing these earlier time live streams. Gives me the rest of the day to do other things. Uh, Spend time with family. Run errands. Uh, Other hobbies, projects. All right. So this article is titled "Why a New UN Peacekeeping Mission Would Be Devastating for the Haitian People." Article by Nato Kuri, September 9th, 2024. The photo is a UN Peacekeeper Patrol Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Why is the U.S. seeking? Article reads as follows. Why is the U.S. seeking to deploy a new UN peacekeeping mission in Haiti? Kenyan police officers were sent to Haiti on June 25th as part of the United Nations mandated mission. This mission involved a large coalition of security forces from the Bahamas, Bangladesh, Barbados, Benin, Chad, and Jamaica, totaling 2,500 officers. The mission's stated goal is to regain control over Haitian territory, much of which is currently under the control of local gangs and armed groups. The military intervention project is primarily sponsored by the United States government, which has pledged $300 million and received monetary support from Canada, France, and Spain. However, this funding strategy has raised criticism that the operation is, in reality, another territorial invasion of Haiti. Months after the Kenyan police were deployed to Haiti, security in the country has not improved. Amidst challenges related to funding for the multinational mission and a need for additional equipment, the United States is contemplating a significant transformation. The Kenyan-led security and support mission in Haiti could evolve into a traditional UN peacekeeping operation. This shift, where the UN could deploy military forces instead of police to lead operations in Haiti, is a development that the United States is actively exploring. Washington's proposal to alter the status of the multinational force could potentially resolve the mission's funding issues, as the other member countries of the UN would then be responsible for its financing in terms of missing materials, other military equipment, and even a hospital for surgical operations. Aren't UN peacekeepers neutral? While theoretically based on principles of sovereign equality and international cooperation, the UN often reflects the power dynamics of global capitalism. It is maintained by the core capitalist powers, particularly the United States, Western Europe, and their allies. Through its peacekeeping operations, the UN can be viewed as a tool used to legitimize imperialist interventions. It camouflages imperialism under the pretext of, quote, human rights, and quote, humanitarianism, end quote, or, quote, peacekeeping, end quote. Peacekeeping missions are strategically placed in areas where Western powers hold significant resources and geopolitical interests. These operations, which are often inconsistent and selective, expose the institution's biases. The UN tends to intervene during conflicts that threaten Western interests while looking the other way and minimizing crises in regions with little economic or strategic interest. What is the history of UN peacekeeping in Haiti? UN mission in Haiti, 1993 to 1996. Peacekeepers first arrived in Haiti in September 1993 as part of the UN mission in Haiti. The mission was mandated to modernize the Haitian army and establish a new national police force 2 years after Haiti's elected president, Jean-Bertrand Aristide, was removed from office during a coup d'etat. Before this ouster, Aristide implemented policies to redistribute wealth and improve working class conditions. After Aristide was restored to office in October 1994, following the UN sanctions and US-led, quote, Operation Uphold Democracy, end quote, launched the month before, the mission's mandate was expanded to include helping to stabilize the government. Aristide's government faced significant pressure from the IMF and the World Bank to implement structural adjustment programs. These programs often involved privatization and deregulation, disproportionately harming the working class and benefiting foreign investors. However, UNMIH, which concluded in June 1996, failed to deliver long-term stability. A decade later, history repeated itself as Aristide was overthrown for a second time. U.S. Stabilization Mission in Haiti, 2004-2017. Following the second U.S.-backed coup against democratically elected President Jean-Bertrand Aristide in 2004, the UN sent peacekeepers to stabilize the country. This intervention was seen as serving the interests of U.S. imperialism, which aimed to prevent the rise of a progressive government that could challenge neoliberal policies and foreign exploitation in Haiti. The UN mission in Haiti was criticized for its role in perpetuating the political and economic structures that favored the Haitian elite and foreign investors while neglecting to tackle the underlying causes of poverty and inequality in the country. The UN's 2004 to 2017 failed peacekeeping mission was also marred by allegations of sexual assault by its troops and staffers. Furthermore, peacekeepers from Nepal were blamed for introducing cholera into Haiti's largest river in October 2010, resulting in the death of over 10,000 Haitian people. Although the UN has acknowledged its role in the epidemic and the lack of sufficient effort to combat it, it has not explicitly admitted to introducing the disease. Our role in the United States is to oppose intervention in Haiti. Real solution to the crisis the Haitian people are confronting will come from the Haitian people themselves, not the United States, Kenya, nor the UN. While the people of Haiti continue their struggle for sovereignty and respect, the people of the United States must stand with Haiti in resisting neocolonial occupation and intervention. Hands off Haiti! Hashtag Haiti. All right. So, very interesting how the UN, a peacekeeping organization, loves sending troops and officers to restructure society, right? Uh, why troops? Why not send teachers? Why not send doctors? Why not send serious peacekeepers that will guide the people of Haiti to know how to organize for democratic elections, right? Um, this is obviously, as the article states, just intervention meddling for the benefit of the elite and the oligarchs. Uh, and as stated in the article, the U.S. has already tried, the UN has already tried peacekeeping efforts in Haiti or restructuring efforts in Haiti that have failed for the general population, but have always made the 1% in Haiti or the upper class in Haiti more beneficial. So it's obviously not a project to save the Haitian people. It's a project to save their invested interests. Uh, yeah. So the U.S., Western Empire, the UN needs to stay out of Haiti unless they're going to send medical supplies and food and send people that can help them restructure by setting up actual democratic elections, which obviously the UN can't do because they don't even have democratic elections. So the Haitian people will have to have an internal leader that will rise up, or internal leaders that will rise up to organize and create an infrastructure that is truly democratic for the people. Uh, this will probably happen when these leaders rise up and offer actual social programs or nationalization programs that will benefit all the people in Haiti, such as Chavez tried to do with the Bolivarian Revolution in Venezuela. Of course, what's going to happen when Haiti rises up in its own independence with a leftist or socialist government is that the U.S. is going to try to oppress them and it's going to do another coup d'etat. This is why it's important to educate and have solidarity and make sure that everybody's on board. This is why people like Chavez and Maduro have daily speaking sessions online, live broadcast, open channel networks to communicate with the people what's happening and to educate them and to provide resources. Uh, as Americans, as myself, someone that believes or practices uh, meditation, stoicism, uh, any kind of philosophical or psychological practice that makes us better human beings, better humanitarians, uh, practices egalitarianism. Uh, I support Haiti, their sovereignty, their right to create their own government as they see fit. That kind of revolution comes from within. You cannot uh, bring it from exteriorly and impose it on the people. They will always reject it, as they have for the last 20 years or more than 20 years. Um, so, yeah. So, as human beings, let's support Haiti and their sovereignty. It is morally correct, it is kind, and it's humanitarian. What we should be sending Haiti is medical aid and education, tools for education, tools for technology. All right. Yeah, in the end, yeah, we should be sending Haiti tools for the people to empower themselves to create their own democracy. All right, let's see what else is. I know we got more articles. About two more articles. Check, check, microphone check, check. It's all good. Signal is good. Sorry for the bottle noise. All right. Next article titled No Bid New Bedford Movement Defeats Downtown Gentrification Proposal by Dave Pimentel, September 11th, 2024. Here we go. This one hits close to home since I live in the region. Uh, residents, article reads as follows. Residents of New Bedford, Massachusetts, in the quote, No Bid New Bedford, end quote, movement, are celebrating their victory against the proposed creation of a business improvement district that would have privatized public space downtown and displace local communities. The victory was a result of months of grassroots organizing. Dozens of New Bedford residents and small business owners organized meetings, protests, and a petition opposing the creation of a BID. On July 17th, a week before City Council was set to vote on the proposal, BID supporters withdrew their proposal from consideration. Quote, We all mobilized immediately and came together, end quote, said Alyssa Paquette, owner of New Bedford's fashion boutique Calico and a central figure in the quote, No Bid New Bedford, end quote, movement. This quote, this downtown belongs to the residents of New Bedford, end quote. What is a BID? BID, a tool of gentrification and displacement. A BID, sometimes known by other names such as a tourist improvement district, creates a designated area where property owners pay a fee to fund projects such as enhanced security, marketing, quote, beautification, end quote, and street cleaning. These projects are designed to attract tourists and upscale clientele rather than serve the existing community. And here's a photo with the description. New Bedford community members rally outside City Hall on July 22nd to celebrate defeat of the BID proposal. Liberation photo, Dave Pimentel. Continuing to read article. Bids often lead to increased property values at the districts as the district becomes more attractive to wealthy investors and high-income residents. This drives up rents and property taxes, making it difficult for longtime residents and small local businesses to afford to stay in the area. As a result, working-class tenants and mom-and-pop shops are often forced out, replaced by wealthier newcomers and larger corporate-owned establishments. Bids are often marketed as a tool for, quote, urban revitalization, end quote, that will help all residents, but they are primarily supported by big business and wealthy interests. They are overseen by a private board, typically composed of property owners within the district. Quote, a bid privatizes the land, uses an undemocratic system, and increases property value with total disregard for people who are already struggling with the cost of living, end quote, said Marcus Coward, a community activist and school committee nominee. Thousands of bids exist across the United States, including 10 in Massachusetts. Quote, a synonym for gentrification, end quote. The proposed bid in New Bedford would have opened the door to fully commodifying the city's downtown area, an area known for social and cultural events that bring the community together. Quote, we all knew how important it was to stop this because of how damaging it could be to downtown New Bedford and the New Bedford as a whole, end quote, said Paquette. Here's a picture of New Bedford City Council meeting where BID proposal was dropped after public outrage. The Liberation photo by Dave Pimento. Article continues to read as follows. One key supporter of New Bedford's bid proposal was Marco Limandri, a wealthy San Diego-based developer and, quote, volunteer consultant, end quote, for the project. Limandri's company, New City America, proudly advertises that it, quote, has established 90 business improvement districts, community benefit districts across the U.S., end quote. As Coward said, a bid, quote, can be a synonym for gentrification, end quote. Quote, we'll be ready, end quote. The BID is a capitalist tool designed to extract profit from our communities at the expense of the working class residents. Development decisions should center on the wants and needs of the community, not outside investors. Development should create opportunities for residents to thrive instead of displacing people with rising rents. Quote, no bid New Bedford, end quote. Organizers told Liberation News that they know the corporate elite will try again to make a buck of New Bedford, but with the collective experience of organizing and winning against the downtown BID, Coward says, quote, we won't have to get ready. We'll be ready, end quote. Hashtag Massachusetts. All right, so this is one of those things where, like, if we were actually a true democratic nation or communities that actually believed in the well-being of our neighbors, it would be a law that you wouldn't have to fight again against a bid. You know what I mean? It would be a law that you shouldn't be able to gentrify a neighborhood if it displaces the people instead of lifting up the people. And gentrification just can't do that. You just can't gentrify an area and uplift the people. It always pushes the people out. So you can't gentrify, period. Uh, why aren't we empowering these people instead of pushing them out with by creating bids that pretty much just make districts for corporate-owned districts? This is really what is happening. It pushes out the mom and pop coffee shop, and it puts in a big coffee shop like Starbucks or something like that, and that abuse their workers. You know, uh, there's a cycle here. There's a round cycle of what capitalism does to neighborhoods, right? It commodifies them, extracts the resources, extracts the labor, uh, and then enslaves the people to the very people that are abusing them, to the very corporations and enterprises that are abusing them. And then they repeat the cycle in a new area. It's like, oh, all these people moved to this smaller town where they are all living happily because they left the big city maybe, or they left gentrified areas. So let's go over there and plug a Starbucks in there, because to compete with the local coffee shop. Uh, this is to me one big reason why I personally try, when possible, to drink or eat at local mom and pop cafes, coffee shops, etc. Uh, because they have their own style, their own flavor, their own niche, and they're mom and pop owned. So at least you're giving back to that community directly. Hopefully they pay their workers better. Uh, it's tough, but it's something we should do as a moral construct in our lifestyles, to practice things such as helping our neighbors, our communities, through reinvesting in their products, right? Um, it's the same with landscapers, painters, all that stuff. If you try to always find local, independent people that will do the job well, perhaps a little cheaper or perhaps a little more expensive, depending on what the industry is. Uh, but you're helping out a local community, local workers. Okay. Not much else I can add to this article except that it is a great win uh, for New Bedford, and it shouldn't even be a fight. There just shouldn't be a bid to begin with. They should be outlawed, just like gerrymandering and redlining should be outlawed, just like Citizens United should be outlawed. Um, but here we are, capitalism, right? All we can do is keep educating, organizing, mobilizing, and fighting back. And very importantly, resisting by rejecting the establishment and voting against the two-party system. Not the most important, but if you're going to vote, don't waste your vote on a two-party system. Your vote is practically inexistent in a two-party system. Okay, cool. So I will move on to the last article for today, which is the case for seizing Boeing. Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Mic check, all good. Uh-oh. Why is my thing out of focus? Oh, there it is. All right. Have I been out of focus for a while? Who cares? Oh no. Look at my lighting. I think that's good. Um, hmm. The next article for today. Article title reads, The Case for Seizing Boeing by Liberation Staff, September 13th, 2024. The photo is Flickr, is of a big Boeing plane. I think it's the ZA001 as it reads in the picture. Up in the back on the tail it says it's a 787, which I think is one of their biggest planes. I don't know. I'm not a pilot. All right. Article reads as follows. 30,000 workers at Boeing have courageously gone on strike to demand decent wages, job security, and the right to retire with dignity. We support them 100%. But why should workers have to negotiate with the greedy, criminal executives at Boeing in the first place? Our Vote Socialist 2024 campaign wants to seize Boeing from its billionaire owners and turn it into public property. Here's why and how it would work. Workers create all the wealth. In the most fundamental sense, the seizure of Boeing is justified by the fact that every penny the company has ever made is thanks to the workers, not the executives and the shareholders. The CEO of Boeing has never worked on an assembly line. He's never helped manufacture or maintain a plane, and he certainly doesn't test the planes to make sure they're safe. If the CEO or any of the other top executives never came into the office again, it wouldn't matter because the workers do all the work. Why would the company be run by millionaires and billionaires who have never worked a day in their lives? If Boeing is taken over by the public, then the productive power of the company can be used to make everyone's lives better while ensuring that workers have power on the job and a decent standard of living. Deadly corner cutting on safety. In 2018 and 2019, the world was shocked at two horrific plane crashes involving Boeing 737 MAX jets that took the lives of 346 people. And just this January, passengers were terrified when the door of a Boeing jet fell out of the plane mid-flight. It is clear that the executives at Boeing have systemically cut corners and implemented faulty policies that lead to disasters like these. In fact, they were only able to avoid criminal charges by making a sweetheart deal with the Biden-Harris administration's Justice Department in 2022. Workers want to produce safe planes, and the public wants to fly safely. Let's cut out the executives who only want to make money. Massive subsidies and government contracts. If the exploitation of its workers and the criminal conduct of its executives weren't enough, consider this. Taxpayers have essentially already paid for Boeing many times over in the form of enormous government subsidies. The researchers at Good Jobs First found that over the years, Boeing has received $15.5 billion in subsidies and $75 billion in government loans and bailouts. Last year, 37% of Boeing sales came from the US government. Executives have decided to make the company dependent on war and militarism. In 2022, the company made $14.8 billion in sales to the Pentagon. Under the control of the workers and the public, the company could be reoriented towards peace instead of war. The public, especially people who live in Washington state, home of Boeing, have in effect already paid for the company. Let's take what's ours. What does a public company function? How does a public company function? Seizing Boeing means replacing economic dictatorship with economic democracy. We get to vote for city council members, representatives, senators, governors. Why shouldn't we get to vote for the people who run the places we work to? Why shouldn't we get to vote for the people who run the places we work to? Right now, the company operates according to the whims of executives and big shareholders. If we seize Boeing, then decisions would be made through a partnership between the workers who build the planes and the broader public that relies on the products the workers produce. Elected public officials would work with the union to set goals for production, standards for safety and environmental protection, and more. Workers would elect managers who would make decisions about the day-to-day operation of the workplace together with the elected leaders of the union. That's our vision. Socialism. Hashtag US working class. I don't even have to add that much to this article. I mean, like, it's self-explanatory why we should do this. Um, why are people only making 15 or a little under 20 bucks an hour to work for a corporation while the stake shareholders and the CEOs are getting away and walking away with millions of dollars a year, while the people that actually produce the products, the laborers, are barely scratching by, always with inflation. Their pay doesn't keep up with inflation, so they're actually getting pay cuts, even though they're getting raises. Their benefits are not as good as they should be. This is just a no-brainer, right? Even from a morally or a social construct as to what's good for the people. What's good for the people are co-ops or socialized or nationalized companies. What's good for the elite or the greedy few is just commodified independent enterprises, monopolies, right? So why do people go out of their way to defend this, to defend the CEOs, saying that the CEOs are taking the risk? No, they're not. The workers are taking the risk. The CEO just starts another company. He just gets bailed out. Just claims bankrupt and starts another company with his special millions that he earned in quotes. While the workers actually have to start all over again from a job that maybe paid them 20 bucks to now looking for a job that maybe pays them minimum wage, which is 15 in some states, right? So there's a lot to say, obviously, about this here when we go into how much workers earned, what their benefits are. But mainly, if you have a holistic view on this, a pretty round view on this, you understand that there is no reason why CEOs and investors should be taking all the profit when they barely do any of the work. Uh, let's say your smartest or highest paid worker or engineer in Boeing is making $100,000 a year. Uh, why is a CEO making over millions of dollars a year? Is 200, 300,000 not enough? If it's not enough for the CEO to live off of 2 or 300,000 a year, then what makes you expect it's enough for other people to live out of 60 or 70,000 a year, or even 50 or less, or the janitor that makes 15, which is barely 40K a year? What makes you think that's even common sense? It's not. It's not. And we always know through history that this is what capitalist CEOs do. They are capitalism always rewards the most ghoulish, right? So I say nationalize it, nationalize everything. I am totally for the socialist vision uh, because it's a vision that actually wants to redistribute all the work, all the wealth, and all the resources to all the working class people, the people that actually do the labor. Alrighty, so I believe that's all the articles for today. I will go back, refresh this page, see if anything pops up. Nope, everything's good. So we're all caught up. That Boeing one was released September 13th, just a couple of days ago. Uh, I'll be signing off in a couple minutes. I just want to point out that there were no articles this week on Palestine. But what is happening over there is definitely a war crime. Never stop talking about it. Don't be apologetic about talking about it, whether it's at the dinner table, the birthdays, wherever. If people ask you for conversation, then yeah, you should talk about it because that's what you like to talk about, and that's what's important to talk about. If people want to get triggered or salty because of your humanitarian or moral opinions, then that's their problem. That's their issue. There's no reason why you should get triggered or be upset at their immoral opinions. If anything, you should have empathy and feel sorry for them and treat them like the 4-year-olds that they are and educate them. Uh, or maybe the 4-year-olds that they're acting like. Uh, but yeah, we should always talk about how there's war crimes happening in Palestine, in Gaza, and how they're trying to expand the war crimes. There is nothing that justifies the amount of death and destruction that has happened within almost a year in Gaza. Nothing. I don't care how you wanna call it divine intervention or power or justifications. No, there's none of that. None of that. If your religion justifies what's happening in Gaza, uh, either you read the book wrong or you need a better religion. Don't use your religions to justify war crimes and inhumane actions in the world. Um, if any other reason that you have to justify it, just don't. Just don't be an immoral, morally bankrupt ghoul. Uh, get some humanitarian uh, ideals for yourself and for the world around you. We are all one people. We are all the working class. We are all the proletariat. We are all human beings and all deserve equal opportunity to be rehabilitated and reintegrated into society, no matter what we've done or what is being done. And I say that not just because of Gaza, but I say that for the people in Israel, for the Jews around the world that believe in Zionism. I believe that they deserve a fair chance to be re-educated and rehabilitated. But I also believe in the liberation movement of Gaza, and they do have a right to defend themselves and to fight back. And the axis of resistance out there has a right to fight back too, because let's not forget that it was a state imposed on them in the region. Nobody asked for it. Nobody asked for it. And there's no other religion out there that has their own state because it's not necessary. All right? Cool. Just the fact that a religion has their own state makes it an ethno-state, which makes it fascist, uh, which makes it inhumane, especially if it's trying to invade and do more land grabbing. All right. Uh, there's plenty of stories, plenty of videos out there. One channel that I see that always posts videos on the daily, even just short videos on the daily, is TRT News. Uh, AJ Plus does as well. Breakthrough News is doing great videos on it as well. Uh, so yeah, I recommend all those. Take a look-see, uh, review the evidence, get informed, get educated, uh, organize, mobilize, uh, vote Claudia de la Cruz if you can, uh, or vote Jill Stein if that's more your flavor. But whatever you do, reject the duopoly, uh, reject the system that is oppressing you. We need a better system. Uh, if we are all patriots in solidarity with humanity, uh, not just our blocks, not just our states, not just our nations, but we must free all human beings from the oppression of the boot. All right, which is called Western imperialism. All righty, so everybody have a good weekend. Uh, I'll see you again soon. Again, this is something I'm trying out for this year just to keep me reading these articles. So I live stream my reads. We'll see what happens at the end of the year. But so far, I've been able to read every single article, and it's going well for me, myself, my education, my analysis. And I recommend people to look in the description box and definitely support or read the articles in liberationnews.org. Alrighty, signing off. Have a great weekend.